The story of Walt Disney. Walt Disney was one of the most famous and creative people of the 20th century. He helped change the world of animation and entertainment. Today, millions of people know the name Disney. But behind this famous name, there was a man who had many problems, failures, and difficult moments. Walt Disney was born on December 5, 1901, in Chicago, Illinois, in the United States. He grew up in a large family. When he was a child, Walt was very interested in drawing. He liked to draw animals, people, and things that he saw around him. His family later moved to a farm in Missouri. Walt spent a lot of time there. He loved animals and nature. These things later became important in his creative work. When Walt was a teenager, he started thinking about art and animation. He wanted to become an artist. However, his life was not easy. His family did not have much money, and Walt had to work hard. During the First World War, Walt wanted to help as a soldier, but he was too young. Instead, he worked with the Red Cross and drove an ambulance in France. After the war, Walt returned to the United States. He wanted to work in the world of animation. He moved to Kansas City and started making small animated films. At first, things did not go well. Walt created a small animation company, but the company did not make enough money. It closed after a short time. This was a difficult period for Walt, but he did not give up. In 1923, Walt Disney moved to Hollywood, California, with his brother Roy. Together they started a new company. It was called Disney Brothers Studio. Walt was the creative person, and Roy helped with the business side. The two brothers worked together for many years. In the beginning, they made short animated films. Walt wanted to create interesting characters and stories that could make people happy. One of the first important characters was Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. However, Walt lost the rights to Oswald because of a business problem. This was another serious disappointment for him. After losing Oswald, Walt needed a new character. Then he created a small mouse. The mouse became Mickey Mouse. Mickey first appeared in a cartoon called Steamboat Willie in 1928. The cartoon was very popular. People loved Mickey because he was funny, energetic, and friendly. Mickey Mouse quickly became one of the most famous cartoon characters in the world, but Walt Disney did not stop there. He wanted to do something that many people thought was impossible. He wanted to make a full-length animated movie. At that time, many people believed that audiences would not want to watch an animated movie for more than an hour. Some people even thought Walt was making a big mistake. But Walt believed in his idea. He and his team worked for years on a movie called Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. The work was very difficult and expensive. Walt spent a huge amount of money on the movie. There was a real risk that the project could fail. Finally, in 1937, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs was released. It became a huge success. The movie showed that animation could be more than short cartoons. It could tell a long and emotional story. It also made Disney a much bigger company. After Snow White, Disney created many other famous animated movies. These included Pinocchio, Fantasia, Dumbo, and Bambi. However, Walt Disney's life was not always successful. His company had financial problems. Some movies did not make as much money as expected. The Second World War also created problems for the company. But Walt continued to look for new ideas. He wanted to create a place where families could have fun together. This idea became Disneyland. At first, many people thought Disneyland was another crazy idea. Walt wanted to build a huge park with rides, shows, characters, and different worlds. He wanted visitors to feel like they were inside a story. Walt bought land in California and began building Disneyland. The park opened on July 17, 1955, in Anaheim, California. Opening day was very difficult. There were problems with the roads, the crowds, and some rides, but Disneyland quickly became one of the most popular places in the United States. People came from different parts of the country to see the park. Walt Disney was not only interested in cartoons and amusement parks. He was also interested in the future. He wanted to create new ideas about cities, technology, transportation, and family life. One of his biggest dreams was a new city called Epcot. He imagined a modern community where people could live and experience new technology. Walt Disney died on December 15, 1966, at the age of 65. He did not see many of his later ideas become reality, but his company continued after his death. The Disney name became famous around the world. New animated movies were created, new parks were opened, and new generations grew up with Disney characters and stories. Walt Disney's story is interesting because he was not successful from the beginning. He experienced failure. He lost his first important cartoon character. His companies had financial problems. People sometimes said that his ideas were impossible, but he continued to work. He believed that imagination was important. He believed that people could create something new if they were ready to work hard and take risks. There is also an important lesson in Walt Disney's story. Success does not always come quickly. Sometimes we have a good idea, but other people do not understand it. Sometimes we fail, sometimes we lose money or have to start again. Walt Disney had many of these experiences, but every problem gave him a chance to try something new. Today, when people hear the name Disney, they often think about Mickey Mouse, animated movies, Disneyland, and magical stories. But behind all of these things was a person who loved drawing and wanted to create something special. Walt Disney started with simple drawings. He worked with his brother. He faced failure, he tried again, and eventually his ideas became part of popular culture around the world. His story shows us that big dreams can start with very small ideas. A child with a pencil and a piece of paper could not know that one day his work would become a global entertainment company. Walt Disney's life reminds us that creativity, hard work, and the courage to continue can make a big difference. And perhaps the most important lesson is simple. If you have a dream, do not give up just because the first attempt does not work. Sometimes failure is not the end of the story. Sometimes it is the beginning of a new one.